Hi everybody. As you saw from my post, I'm now working a different shift. I don't know how that's going to affect the outcome of the videos. It's just that I'm going to be eating dinner when you guys are usually eating breakfast. But it's something you can still do at home. Thank you for the kind comments. Yes, I am. I hold many jobs. But anyway, for today's video, I'm going to make a classic French dish of beef Burgundy. And it should be pretty simple to put together, but it's going to take about 3 hours to cook. So I want to get into the kitchen and get it started. So let's get to it. First thing you're going to need is a heavy pan. I'm using a cast iron Le Creuset, one of my oval pots. It's got a tight-fitting lid, and I'm going to be able to braise the beef in this and also stick this right in the oven because it's going to be cooking for about 3 hours. But the first thing we got to do is cook up some bacon. So let me get this over by the stove. Let's add some fire to the stove here. And then I'm going to take a pound of applewood smoked bacon, and I'm just going to take these pieces with some kitchen shears, and I'm just going to chop up some chunks here. And I'm going to do this with the full pound, and we'll come back as we're browning it. While the bacon's browning, I'm going to take a pound and actually about 2.5 pounds of choice boneless chuck Denver steak, and I'm going to cut that into about 1-inch pieces. And this is going to be so tender after it sits. So I've got about 6 of these total, and I'm just going to finish cubing it up in about 1-inch, roughly 1-inch cubes. And then we'll get back to the bacon. So we've got this nice and crispy, and I'm going to take just a slotted spoon. I'm going to pick this up and put it in a bowl. I've turned the heat down on the bacon fat to low until I'm finished cutting up the meat, and then I will bring it up to about medium high because I'm going to sear the beef right in that bacon fat. It's going to be adding more flavor. Now here we have all that beautiful beef, and I'm just going to salt that with some sea salt. And I'm going to throw some pepper down with it. And that's about it. Let's get this over to the stove. Nice hot pan. We've got it back up to about medium. And I'm going to start tossing some of this beef in. I just want to get a sear on that. So I just want to toss it a little bit to get a little bit of brown on it. Then I'm going to bring over the bacon, and I'm going to pick up that meat, and I'm going to put it right on top of the bacon. There we go. I'm ready to do another batch. I have the heat off in the pan. I've got all the beef that's been braised and put in a bowl on top of the bacon. And with the heat off on this, let's go over, and I drained a lot of the liquid, so I just left that wonderful fond on the bottom there that we're going to deglaze. And before we do that, we got to cut up some carrots and some onion. And I've got some peeled baby carrots that are tasty. And I want them a little large, so I'm just going to cut those in half. I mean, you can go, these are going to soften up, they're hard right now. Or you can cut them in half this way if you want. It doesn't matter. You decide what you like best. And once I get the equivalent of about 3 large carrots, I'm going to dice up 2 onion. So you've seen this. Let me finish it up and we'll get to the onion. You've seen me do onion before. So we've got the pan now. We're going to reheat. I'm putting about a tablespoon of butter down. I'm going to get that all over this goodness. And you're going to try to scrape up what you can. Now that butter, we're going to add the carrots and the onion. And we're going to toss these around, and we're just going to let them cook for about, about 12 minutes or so. Well, it's been about 9 minutes or so, and I'm going to add about 3 cloves of garlic. It's minced. I'm just going to stir that in a little bit. Crazy the amount, the aroma that gives off. Alright, so you don't want the kids around for this, so I'm going to shut the heat off for a second. And what I'm going to add to this is a half cup of cognac. And we're going to flambe, so I'm going to put a lighter in there. And we're just going to cook enough to let that alcohol burn off. Now you don't have to do this, but it just adds a whole different depth of flavor. Continuing to try to get some of that brown stuff up. Okay, now that we have flambéed, we're going to add the beef and the bacon back in with all of its juices. Wow. Now to this, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of tomato paste. And I've just opened a bottle of wine. You want to use like Pinot Noir, or I'm using a Baron Philippe Rothschild's Bordeaux. It's a good French Bordeaux. And I'm going to put that whole bottle in there. I'm going to stir that tomato paste in a little bit better. And like I said earlier, I have the oven preheated to 300 degrees. So you just want it to cover the beef. If it doesn't cover the beef, you add enough, you add some beef stock until it does. But you just want the meat covered. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring this up to just a simmer. Heat it up, and I'm going to add about a teaspoon of salt. About a teaspoon of black pepper. And I don't have any fresh thyme, but I do have some ground thyme, and I'm going to sprinkle a good amount of that on there, maybe a quarter to a half teaspoon of thyme on top of that. And I'm just going to mix that in as it's coming up to a simmer. Alrighty folks, we have got this up to a simmer. I am going to put a heavy lid on it, cut the heat from here, and I'm going to place this in the oven at 300 degrees for 3 hours. But we're not done cooking yet. Can't take it easy just yet. So we're back to the cutting board, and I have got 1 pound of mushrooms, just the white mushrooms. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just quarter these. That's it. And I'm going to set those aside because we are going to sear those. Well, like I said, I've got about 1 pound of these to clean. And you don't need to be around for that. So I will come back when they're done. I have a tablespoon of butter in a hot pan. I'm just going to throw those about 1 pound of mushrooms in. And I'm going to give them a little spray with some garlic infused olive oil. So I'm going to add a little bit of Worcestershire. And I'm also going to put in a little bit of soy sauce. Those just go hand in hand with mushrooms. You can see how they've reduced quite a bit in size. They've taken on that nice brown golden color. And the sauce is just about as absorbed almost all of that sauce. I'm going to take these as they are now, and I'm going to just place them in a bowl. Beauty. And I'm going to put those aside. Now this is something we're going to need for later. I've got 3 tablespoons of gluten-free flour in here, and I've got 2 tablespoons of softened butter, and I'm just going to kind of mix that all up as best as I can. Just going to continue to mix this up until it's all incorporated. All right, so now we can rest easy for the next 2.5 hours. It's been 3 hours. Let's see what we got here. Ooh. That looks like it is braised quite well. Now to this, I just want to turn on the heat. I'm going to want to simmer it for about 20 minutes. But I'm going to add in the mushrooms and all those juices. And I'm also going to put in that thickener that we made with the gluten-free flour and the butter. Just going to kind of melt that in there. What that's going to do is the butter's going to give it a creaminess, silkiness, and the flour in it is going to be a great thickener. Got some bacon bits in there. While that's simmering, I'm also going to add some pearl onions. And you can add as many as you like. I'm just adding a jar here. If you like them a lot, you can add a lot. If you don't like them that much, you can not add any if you want. But starting to thicken up a little bit here. And what I want you to see is this beef. Look at that beef. It just breaks right apart. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, I have to. So now that this is done, you can put this over egg noodles, you can put this over rice, or you can have it just on its own. Now that chunks of meat are just falling apart. I got some of the mushroom, some of the onion, and I got my carrots. Now I'm not going to have it with rice or anything else. I'm just going to have it just as it is. So let's try it out. And what I'm going to do is just zoom in a little bit here with some of that beef. And I'm just going to show you here how it just pulls apart. So I'm going to take a little bit of mushroom and a little bit of beef. Wow. The wine with the beef and the mushrooms and the vegetables, and oh my goodness, it just melts. It just melts in your mouth. Oh, quiet. Oh, good. take some carrots and a little bit of one of those onions. I mean, it would be too disgusting to take a bite out of this and then open my mouth, but it just falls apart. Gone. Oh my God. Wow. And you're going to get several days of food out of this. It freezes, okay. And the flavor is just off the hook incredible. So rich. So, I mean, it's just so, wow, it's just so everything. I'm sorry. Oh, let's see. I'm tired. I've been up for 16 hours. And I gotta go back in, but try this out. It's just so good. I'll leave you with one last look at it.